inside the Three Crows Studios in Morristown, Tennessee. This is Two Guys Talking Baseball. My name is Dallas Danger, and I am joined, as always, by my best friend and colleague, Brian Logan. Brian, I'm loving the Durham Bulls get up today.
It's a great week for baseball.
That was actually pretty true this week.
It was. It was very good this week.
I was a little worried. Brian knows this, but you listeners and viewers won't know this until I tell you, so I'm going to tell you. I was a little worried this week. We got to really like Tuesday night, and I was like, man, feels like nothing's happened this week. What are we going to talk about? But we came up with some creative ideas, and then, between Tuesday night and today, I've come up with about as many bullet points as we normally have. So
right, there we go.
Things normalized, and we're very excited. We're going to talk more White Sox. We're done having fun with the White Sox. It's not fun anymore, guys.
We are. It's not.
We're going to talk a little Aaron Judge, checking in on him since he was on what was it called, Rubble and Crew, I think, the Paw Patrol spinoff that we talked about. And then Paul Skeen's had an interesting interaction with an umpire, and we're going to talk about that. And then sort of the big icing on the cake today is Brian and I, and not that we had never seen this flick before, we'd seen it many times, obviously, but we sat down last night and together watched Bull Durham. It's the first time I'd watched it in a while, and it is my favorite movie. And I know that sounds crazy to some people to go, I mean, it maybe has been 2 years since I've seen my favorite movie.
Oh, wow.
And I know a lot of people are like, that's crazy. I watch my favorite movie 3 times a year. And, like, I get it, but I just don't watch movies. Like,
yeah,
Brian knows this. I'm not a movie guy. I'm a TV show guy.
Yeah.
More than anything, And I like watching the same shows over and over again because I don't have to pay attention. They can just be on in the background. I'm one of those people. But that's all on the slate for today. So, but before we get into that, as we do at the top of every show, Brian, let's check in. Today you've got to be feeling pretty good about the Cubs after what happened yesterday.
Yeah, no, the Cubs are doing okay. They combined no-hitter, scored a bunch of runs there, and looked good at Wrigley. That was one of the things that they were having problems with was scoring runs at home. Because Wrigley, she's a fickle bitch, and she'll giveth and taketh away.
Absolutely.
They were struggling a little bit, but they got, I think they scored 12 last night.
Yeah, 12-0.
Yeah, so they did pretty well there. I'm happy that Lopez is not. I'm not happy he's hurt, but I'm happy he's on the IL, so we don't have to let him pitch anymore. I don't want him to be hurt.
Is he hurt or is he hurt?
No, he's hurt.
Yeah, I know there was it a groin or something?
Yeah, it was a groin pull. 2 days later, he pitches terrible, and they're like, "Oh, we better put him on the IL."
Yeah, well, the groin was the excuse the whole time, from the way you kind of told me. I didn't see the game or hear the commentary on it, but it sounds like the groin was the excuse for everybody.
Yeah, it was.
So if it's that bad, here's the thing: his groin wasn't bothering him with the Mets, and he was pretty terrible there too.
Yeah. I'm just not real high on him, but I am high on the rest of the boys, and they were looking really, really good last night.
Most of the rest of the boys. Most
of them, yeah. We got a problem at third base.
You're really hot and cold so far on Doretti.
I really am. He comes in, he delivers a little bit, but then he just looks miserable, and then he makes 3 errors last night.
And here's the thing: 3 errors in a game that they had well in control, and could have been a perfect game. And say what you want about combined no hitters and things like that. Go yell at clouds, Grandpa. The game has changed for the better. It's just part of the game now. And it's funny. It seems like the Cubs have more combined no-hitters than anybody else lately. They're kind of the kings of the combined no-hitter now. They combined no-hit the Dodgers, last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah, but they hadn't done it at Wrigley since 72.
Right. First no-hitter at Wrigley in like over 50 years is a big deal. We talk about it all the time. That's such a loyal fan base out there. They deserve that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But we're trucking right along. It's a little bipolar. One day we're in, one day we're out. It's just typical Cubs baseball.
Well, here's the thing. We're in September now. It's crunch time. The Cubs are in it. It's going to take, their best and some help along the way. obviously, but they're within shouting distance of a wild card spot. And, not that much baseball left to play, but there's still baseball left to play. So, we've seen it before. Teams sneak in at the very end, and the next thing you know, they're in the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just see what happens. We'll just take it day by day, and God willing, we'll just hope that it helps the club each day, and we'll just see where we are come October.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains.
Sometimes it rains.
Folks, if you're not okay with Bull Durham references, you probably should just leave now, because it's gonna be a long one for you if that's the case. But one of the reasons, before I get into my Dodger talk for the week, one of the reasons that we decided when we were trying to come up with what to talk about this week, one of the reasons we decided to watch a movie and talk about it was that's something we have kicked around the idea of doing on our Patreon, and we thought this would be a cool little free preview. Peek behind the curtain. We, now that we're on every platform that we know to be on, our numbers are as high as they've been, since we returned a few weeks ago. And so, Brian, you came up with a pretty good idea, I thought, to maybe entice some of these new listeners to give the Patreon a try.
So if you want to try out the Patreon, but you just have been on the fence and you haven't been real sure what to do, well, we're going to help you out. 7 days from today, starting right now from the time you've heard my voice till 7 days from now, you can use promo code GoCubsGo.
Of course.
And you can get half off and get the Patreon at half off, which is like $2, $1.50, somewhere in that range.
There you go.
So it is you're literally risking nothing to get some good stories and try it out, and you get full access to it for that. The sale is just for 7 days, but you continue the access.
Right, and I have to point out and dwell a little bit on the fact that my team, the Dodgers, win 100 games every year. Brian's team is good 1 year, and they get the promo code.
Of course. Go Cubs Go is the promo code.
Yeah, patreon.com/2GTV. Use that promo code for the next 7 days. Go Cubs Go. You get a little deal there. Give it a try, I think you can tell by our pricing model that we're not trying to gouge you for money. We're really trying to give you bang for your buck here. That is a theme with us when we ask for money. We want to give you something of value for your money.
The story about the demon is worth $1.
Sure, or even the original 11, 12 episodes.
Absolutely,
that's worth a couple bucks. Right there. There's some good stuff there. We talked about a lot of cool stuff. We had some cool interviews. We talked to a guy named Dave. His last name escapes me. I'm so sorry. I have done a lot of damage to my brain cells over the years, and I apologize. But Dave had just accomplished visiting all 30 current Major League ballparks.
Right.
And I thought, what better way to celebrate that than to come on to, Schlub's podcast and talk about it.
Right.
And we found out that he had gone well beyond that and had seen games overseas. And it was just a great conversation with a guy that we had never met.
Right.
I just saw him on the internet and was like, do you want to talk about it? And he was like, absolutely. And it was just so cool how it came together. And, we had a great talk. And he's a big Cleveland Guardians fan. And, goes to a lot. There's a lot of baseball around that area too. So he attends a lot of games there, but travels to go to games and just has made a really, it's an accomplishment, the number of parks he's been to. So that's just one example of, and then there were 2 episodes of Married with Baseball, the podcast Brian did with his wife briefly after we went on our hiatus. And, we've done some extra content. We're going to continue to do extra content.
Yeah.
And, later when we talk about the movie Bull Durham, we will give you a little preview, because I think that's something we're going to try to do now on a little bit more regular basis. And I don't know. We've not poured as much into our Patreon because we're trying to make sure we keep enough to do and to talk about to keep us afloat in the off season.
Right.
So,
there's more to come on Patreon as soon as the series is over.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna add more as much as we can. I mean, we're humans, we're busy, and at the end of the day, we have to make a living too. So, until this makes that living for us,
right,
we got to do other things, and I like doing other things. I do a lot of cool shit. So
yeah,
anyways,
you're a very busy man.
Yeah, well, I've started introducing myself as a Renaissance man because I do a little bit of everything.
Good. You can paint my house next week.
No, that's not really on my business card.
Oh, well, I thought Renaissance man, house needs painted. You're the guy.
I mean, you could hire Greg Maddox, but he'd only paint the corners.
That's right. I knew there was a reference in there. But all right, how do you feel about the Dodgers this week?
Okay, so I think I mentioned this last week. I've felt like a little bit of a broken record lately on the Dodgers because it's been sort of the same story for a while. But some new developments in the last 7 days. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is returning on Tuesday, which is huge, and I think gives him enough time to get stretched out at least, relatively well before October. And, a lot of people get hung up on that first start he had in Korea that did not go well, which was like the one time he looked anything other than incredible this season.
Right.
Was really one of the best pitchers in the game when he got hurt. And that's a huge, addition to this roster because, with the injuries, the starting pitching depth has been, it's questionable. Now, do I think it's as questionable as it was last year? Absolutely not. This isn't Clayton Kershaw needing surgery, rookie Bobby Miller, and Lance Lynn who, can do anything in the world except not give up home runs. That ain't what this rotation is going to look like in October.
Right.
Even if there are injuries still, there'd have to be quite a few for us to be. But with that said, I think the fan standpoint is Bobby Miller shouldn't get anywhere near a playoff start or any playoffs.
No, not at all.
And that's a shame. I think Bobby's got a lot of potential. The stuff is there. That's the thing. When he's not melting down, he looks really fantastic. So there's sort of this weird dichotomy, and it really comes down to, the control of the fastball has really been the problem. They're teeing off on that fastball, and he's not throwing enough strikes with the other pitches to... the hitters basically are just sitting fastball. They're waiting on the fastball, and when they get it, they're driving it. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. So, Walker Bueller has looked better as of late. Do I think his role will be as a starter if we're at full health or close to it? I don't. But I could see a scenario where Walker Bueller is really valuable out of the bullpen for an inning, maybe 2 innings, in whatever the situation is. So, the Yamamoto is big. And the information we've been getting about Glasnow has been really vague, and it's got me worried. But there does seem to be a confidence that he'll be back.
Okay.
And I saw earlier today that Clayton Kershaw has said he is willing to start his throwing program while he's still in a walking boot. That's how determined he is to get back. And you can say whatever you want. Don't give me this crap narrative that he's no good in the playoffs, because if you take away the series where they knew what was coming, he's actually pretty stinking good in October.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And
he is.
And the last time we saw him in October was the worst start he's ever had in October. But again, he knew at that point he needed shoulder surgery.
Right.
But the team needed somebody to put out there, and that's just how it was, and I don't think he deserves the disrespect that he gets about his performance in the postseason. I mean, he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time. I mean, if Sandy Koufax was never born, he's probably the best lefty of all time.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to argue Koufax, but Kershaw's had the longevity that Koufax didn't have.
Right.
So, so the pitching is what it is right now, but I think we're going to be in a good shape, when we need it. And I don't know. So we've got 22 games left. If we go 16-6, which is pretty good, but it's not out of the question the way we've been playing lately, we're going to win 100 games again.
Right.
And that tells me that we might not get there, but we're going to get a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought at certain points in the season we were going to get to 100 wins again. Mm-hmm. So, kudos to the Dodgers for just doing what they do. And this is something Brian and I have talked about a lot kind of lately, because I have found myself lately watching more games or parts of games that have nothing to do with the Dodgers. And the culture of not just teams, but the broadcasts, like the home broadcast for teams, mm-hmm. is so vastly different. Because if the Dodgers go down 5-6-0, they're talking about, well, this is how they get back in it. You know what I mean? And we talked about how the Cubs, they give up 5 runs, and they're looking for cute babies in the crowd.
Yeah, quality baby.
They're well versed in killing time mm-hmm. when the game is not the most entertaining thing, mm-hmm. For people to see. So, and then you talked about the Rays are just kind of
in the middle. They don't go either way.
They just call the play.
They just call the play and keep going.
So, and I say this all the time, I'm spoiled to get to watch this team every day. That's why I do it, I mean, I wasn't always a daily watcher, but it reached a point where it was like, why not? Mm-hmm. This is history every day with this team, mm-hmm. and sure, that might mean that you're listening to this and you just can't stand the Dodgers, and that's fine too. You're entitled to that opinion. It's a wrong one, but you're entitled to it. All joking aside, like that's where the vigor comes from, other fan bases, because if we weren't any good, they wouldn't have any material. It just why would they be trying to chop us down if we weren't any good, or we were good every now and then?
Yeah, they definitely have a reputation, and that's why, because they are good.
And another conversation Brian and I had yesterday, it's organizational. It goes from the top all the way down to the field, all the way to the grounds crew. It's an organization that, they spend their money on the field, don't get me wrong. But it's the coaches, it's the scouts. The voice of the Dodgers is the voice of baseball.
Yeah.
As it should be, because for 67 years, that's how it was. Because it was Vin Scully.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So now Joe Davis, has taken that helm, I guess, over from Joe Buck, which I think makes a lot of people happy.
Makes me happy.
Sure. But, that's the standard. Mm-hmm. Every spot, if you work for the Dodgers in any capacity, that's the standard. It's a high standard. So I'm spoiled, and this is playoff baseball right now. The last 2 weeks, have maybe even 3 weeks for the Dodgers has been playoff baseball.
Yeah.
Because even the teams that are out of it are gunning. Because as Mookie Betts said at the outset of the season, teams like the Angels, the Dodgers are their World Series.
Yeah.
That's as close as they're getting to meaningful baseball. And they want nothing more than to beat the Dodgers and be able to say, well, we beat the Dodgers.
Right.
We beat the billion-dollar team, or however you want to frame it. And for the Angels, there's that added, we beat Shohei.
Right.
And say what you want about all that, but, it kind of is what it is. So, yeah, I'm feeling good still, we're playing good baseball, and it looks like we're getting healthy and getting hot at the absolute right time. And, I'm ready. I mean, September can't get over soon enough for me because I'm ready. It's playoff time, baby.
Yeah,
like, we're there. You know, through all the twists and turns of a season. You know, from late February when you start spring training till now, it's been a gosh, it felt like it's been 10 years, but it's time. I mean, we're right there on the cusp of playoff baseball, and the Dodgers are any day now, I guess, gonna clinch a playoff berth.
Right.
You know, the division is still up for grabs, but not as much. Well, I mean, we still got to play the Padres 3 games, so that's probably going to decide that division at the end of the day. Those 3 games, because that's just how it goes. When you keep it this tight, you've got to. I mean, and we should have known this division was going to be this good because the Dodgers spent $1 billion, but there were 2 other teams in like the top 5 spenders that are in the NL West. So it's been a pretty long season. Like I said, a lot of twists and turns, but I'm ready for playoff baseball.
Yeah, I'm ready for it too.
I'm ready to get my heart broken again, Brian.
Well, that might happen. That might absolutely happen, but we hope not. I mean, what are you going to do if we make it there and we put you out?
Oh, gosh, I don't want to think about that.
I mean, it's going to take a miracle, but, hey, you're saying we got a chance.
No, the Cubs absolutely have a shot, I mean, now the teams in front of them are some of the hottest teams in baseball right now, so that's the obstacle, is you can win 9 out of 10 and still be 4 games back, because it's hard to gain ground in that race right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be what ends up getting the Cubs is too little, too late. But they're in it.
That's what gets them every year: too little, too late.
All right, so I guess we're going to get into things now. We're gonna go over to the south side of Chicago for a little bit. We've spent a lot of time on the south side of Chicago on this podcast recently.
We really have, but I mean, they're just doing such great things over there. That club is just coming right along. They are really redefining what it's like to be in the cellar.
Well, for every campfire milkshake, there is the White Sox have just gone full White Sox. Shout out to the Orioles broadcast the other night for that little gem that just sort of encapsulates just how despicably bad this White Sox team is. And for them to trade away as much as they did at the deadline when they were already like knocking on the door of worst record in history.
Yeah.
Brian, in their last 50 games, they've won 5.
Yeah.
5-45 their last 50 games.
Wow, that's tough.
And
that's really tough.
We are really, I said they were knocking on the door before the trade deadline. They are barreling towards a door that they are going to run through as perhaps the worst team in baseball history.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's really the conversation we want to have today is, and we've not done research on this. We're just going off of our own opinion and what we've seen in our lifetime, I guess. But are the White Sox the worst team in Major League Baseball history, Brian?
Yes, I think they are. And not only that, I think we need to commit a big chunk of the offseason to why. Let's get to the bottom of this. Why?
Yeah.
Why are they so bad? They don't have to be this bad.
No. Well, here's the thing. They were pretty stinking good just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that team's gone.
Yeah.
Tim Anderson is sitting at home without a job, which is mind-blowing. He was one of the faces of the league 2 years ago. That's just baseball for you, I guess.
Yeah, here today, gone tomorrow.
But, it's bad, man. It's not good out there. And, in a league filled with some of the worst sports team owners you could imagine, looking at you, John Fisher, Artie Moreno. I mean, this is an ownership group that has just abandoned their fan base.
Yeah.
Abandoned them. And again, some of that's out of their control because they were committed to players that just weren't getting the job done anymore. And there's only so much you can do at that point.
Well, I got a good question for you.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot with your Google machine.
Mm-hmm.
What's the average attendance in July for them?
In July?
In July. And then let's see what it was in August. Let's see how far it dipped down. Because then we're going to find out if the fans have really just said the heck with it. You know. Because that's the real measuring stick. If you can't win and you're not in a chase, then the attendance and the sales is what really matters. So I put him on the spot. He's very quick with the Google machine. So, but I mean, there's a lot of teams out there. You're thinking hundreds of years of teams, and this team happens to be the worst. That says something.
Okay. I don't know that I'm going to answer your question directly, but if you let me skim this article real quick, I think I might have
Okay. All right.
some semblance of an answer. So
Okay.
vamp for the people.
Okay. So, yeah. But, I mean, again, if you're a diehard fan, I mean, I guess if the Cubs were completely losing, I would still watch them. So, I mean, do you fall? I guess the question is do you fall in and out of love with the Southsiders? Do you completely give up on them when they're playing as bad as they are? Do you just throw it up and say, okay, I'm going to watch baseball, but there's always next season? Because that's the thing. They could come back next season and just be the top thing and win 100. Who knows? I mean, I doubt it, but they could.
Happening.
But they could.
Okay, this is from frontofficesports.com, and they're kind of breaking down a lot of what's going wrong for the White Sox. It seems to be a very dense article, but a lot of bullet points, which I appreciate because I was able to find their take on the ticket sales aspect pretty quickly, and I'm just going to read it verbatim.
All right, let's hear it.
Again, this is frontofficesports.com. Home attendance at Guaranteed Rate Field for the White Sox is down by more than 18% this season. And despite operating in the number 3 U.S. media market, the team's per-game average of slightly more than 17,000, not very good,
No.
is the 4th worst in the league. That beats only the Rays, Marlins, and A's, all clubs that have perennially struggled in this area, which is true. Those are probably the 3 worst attended teams every year.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're any good or not.
Right.
On Wednesday afternoon, the White Sox completed a game suspended by weather the previous evening. The actual turnout for those final innings numbered only in the dozens, recalling sparse atmosphere at many MLB games during parts of the COVID pandemic. Let me click on this link.
Yeah, I mean, in the dozens to come back after a weather delay.
Oh, it's just a picture of like an empty ballpark.
Yeah.
This must have been the day that other picture was going around.
Right.
It was like nobody was there. Like you were literally counting
how many people there were.
And I know some people were making jokes, but like I saw people that were like, I legitimately count less than 100 people in that picture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And granted, that doesn't account for people that aren't in frame when you take the photo, but there aren't 20,000 people in the concourse.
Let's put it this way. Some small independent wrestling shows outdrew what they drew after the rain delay. Wow. I mean, think about that. I can't believe I got that out without naming a single promotion and putting them over.
Yeah, good for you for not calling anybody on the carpet and on a podcast that has nothing to do with wrestling.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm on fire today.
Yeah, so, one of my favorite / least favorite things about this whole debacle on the South Side is Miguel Vargas, young, pretty promising hitting prospect, at the deadline was traded from the Dodgers, who
right.
And this is going to sound biased, but it's really objective, who are really one of the better teams in baseball history when you look at what they're doing year in and year out for this whole run.
Right.
He went from that to, again, we're talking about, is this the worst team ever? And I've seen, it's like every other day I see a new picture or video of him looking like somebody killed his mom, his dad, and his dog at the same time. Like, he looks horribly depressed. And who could blame him?
But does he look more happy than Paredes?
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I don't think Paredes could possibly look more miserable than Vargas looks in Chicago.
Right. Well, I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna get us a side by side.
Yeah, we need some side by sides. We need some comparison here, visual comparison. So for me, here's the thing: the eye test tells us this is the worst team we've ever seen. I've never seen a team this bad.
I haven't either.
I mean, I've seen some bad teams. Don't get me wrong, but this is this is embarrassing. I mean, it's humiliating how bad they are. If they get the worst record, the worst winning percentage for a season, I mean, I don't think there's any way you can give that distinction to anybody else, because they're only being compared to teams from like the 1800s and the early 1900s. Anything I've seen, right?
Okay.
The game was like, we talk about how the game has changed in our lifetime.
Totally different then.
It's not the same game as back then. And I don't even mean on the field. I mean, a lot of the players were still working jobs.
Right.
Like, for a lot of those guys, baseball wasn't even their primary source of income.
Right.
It was more of a hobby to an extent because of the way they got paid or didn't get paid, depending on how you want to frame it. Yeah, man, unless they go on a tear, and they won last night.
Yeah.
But unless the White Sox go on a tear, I don't think there's any way you can say anybody else, at least not in memory, was any worse than this team.
No, I agree. I think let's just go ahead and say it. They're the worst of all time. It'll go down the 2024 White Sox.
That's bad. Oh, man. I mean, this is a playoff team just a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, bad decisions.
I mean, I remember sitting in a hotel room somewhere in West Virginia with you watching that Field of Dreams game when Tim Anderson hit the walk-off.
Right. Yeah.
Against the Yankees, who are like, supposed to be anyways, like the standard bearer in the American League.
Right.
And in ways they are. Good ball club at least, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton even back then. But that was an exciting game, and it was two good ball clubs, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch a White Sox game.
Yes, it was.
And that was not that long ago, I mean, it seems like it happened really quick for them.
It did. They went downhill, and, hey, when they do it right. I mean, they're in the basement. They said, let's go down and be the worst team ever, and they just took it all to the basement.
I guess, man, if you're going to do something,
do it right.
If you're going to be bad, be the best you can be at being bad. And there's a flip side to that trade, too, talking about Miguel Vargas, because Michael Kopech came from the White Sox to the Dodgers and didn't have really impressive numbers, had been better recently, leading up to the trade, at least. He's come to the Dodgers and been downright unhittable most of the time. And he's probably positioned to be the guy you trust the most in October right now if you're Dave Roberts. I mean, there's other good arms there. Don't get me wrong. Evan Phillips seems to have figured it out. Blake Trinan is just got the nastiest stuff you've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, his slider constantly gets called a video game slider, and that's with reason because it doesn't look like a human being in real life should be able to make a ball do what it does when he throws that slider. Daniel Hudson is a rock. And, there's a lot of good bullpen arms there. But, I think on the trust tree, Kopech's at the top. So he was invigorated to get out of the South Side and come to a contending team that saw a role for him, on a championship.
Well, yeah, he won the lottery. We said that before. He won the virtual lottery.
He sure did. He sure did, man. So, yeah, I guess in our opinion – officially now, the 2024 White Sox are the worst team in Major League Baseball history.
Yes, I feel like we need a
yeah. Well, I was thinking the yay and confetti. The most dubious honor ever.
Yes. Man.
All right, so I brought up Aaron Judge. Let's talk about Aaron Judge.
All right.
We were right on top of covering his appearance animated into a Paw Patrol spinoff show with his actual real-life dogs, one of which was voiced by his wife.
Right.
Super cool. really great thing, and he talks so much about what a great experience it was, and get to share that with his family and his his own parents and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. These numbers are as of a couple days ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So we might be behind. And I haven't seen anything from the last 2 days, so maybe he came out of it and has hit 12 home runs in the last 2 days. I don't know. Well, we would know if he hit that many, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay. In 27 at-bats since, I think it's called Rubble and Crew. If I'm getting that wrong, I'm sorry. But, I don't do a lot of research for this show, guys. We just kind of pull it out of our ass. Spoiler alert. So Aaron Judge, 27 at-bats since appearing on the Paw Patrol spinoff, has a 185 batting average, a 259 slug, which is like the opposite of Aaron Judge. Typically over 700, towards 750 is league average. So that is like a fraction of league average. Like that is well below average. 313 on base, which is still pretty good. When you're hitting 185, but you're getting on base 30% of the time, that says people still fear him and are pitching around him sometimes.
Yeah.
5 hits, 5 walks, 13 strikeouts. In 27 at-bats, 13 strikeouts. No home runs, 2 RBIs. Man, that cartoon messed him up.
It just messed his numbers completely up. I mean, maybe he enjoyed the cartoon world too much and didn't come back to reality.
Yeah, that's a possibility, I guess. It's just one of those weird things. I'm sure the cartoon premiering has nothing to do with it.
But what if it does?
But what if it does? Yeah, exactly. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So, it's wild, I mean, he started a little rough at the very beginning of the year, maybe the first month, I want to say. But he's just been in another dimension since then. I mean, he's putting up numbers that don't look real.
Right.
I mean, almost a 10 WAR and, like a 1,200 OPS. And I'm not exaggerating. Those are real numbers. Those are his actual numbers for the season.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, make any sense. Again, OPS average is, just over 700 to 750 usually. So to be hitting almost double that for an entire season is like, I mean, good grief, man. He's on another level. But here lately, it's dipped a little bit thanks to Paw Patrol.
Yeah, Paw Patrol has really took him off the game, so to speak. We'll see if it did.
And and they're still battling for position. I mean, they're right in it with the Orioles for the division and the top overall seed. And
I was going to say Paw Patrol, but I couldn't get it out quick enough, and I knew that was going to piss you off. But anyway, go ahead, the Orioles. So the battle with the Orioles. The Orioles are looking great.
Yeah, Orioles are.
That's my pick.
Yeah, really good ball club. I mean, really good ball club. And they're so tight that one game could be the difference in you have a bye and you have home field through the entire American League playoffs, and you're playing in a wild card series.
Yeah.
Having to win a best of 3.
Mm-hmm. Just to get in.
Just to get to where the Yankees are automatically, or whoever wins it, is automatically. So that's big. If he doesn't get it right, they're kind of doomed, and doomed in a season where there's a little bit of a sense of urgency for the Yankees because who knows what happens with Juan Soto this offseason.
Right.
Because it looked like the goal was to extend him before he got to free agency. Then all of a sudden the Yankees are coming out and saying that their current roster and current payroll is not sustainable. Mm-hmm.
But they say that all the time, though. They spend all that money and they're like, well, we can't keep it up.
Well,
it's like their gimmick.
That's because they've sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest. They haven't even sniffed the World Series since 2009.
Yeah, that's true.
It was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still the Yankees. Don't get me wrong.
You really don't think about that. Yeah, because you are the Yankees. So you don't think that it's been like 15 years, but when you got to think about it, you're like, yeah, it's been 15 years. So that's because it's just, to me, the Yankees are just always in it.
Yeah.
Even though whether they are or not.
Right, and they present themselves that way whether they are or not.
Yeah.
What was it, 2 years ago they finished in last place?
Yeah.
I mean, they've just not been that good. And that's to their standard. They're not the White Sox,
right?
By any means,
right.
But it's been 15 years since they got anywhere near a World Series. So, and that's why we all hate the Yankees if we're not fans, because all you ever hear is how many more World Series championships they have than everybody else.
Right.
Because they were the one good team out of 8 back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, they earned those. I'm not trying to take them away from them. But, every time you bring up how many the Dodgers have won, somebody's like, when's the last time they won a legitimate one? Well, why don't we do that to the stupid fucking Yankees?
Yeah, why don't we do that to the stupid fucking Yankees?
They haven't won one legitimate or otherwise in 15 years, people.
I know.
Get on their dicks again.
Take that.
Take that, Bavacqua.
You couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat.
If you know, you know on that one. I'm not even going to elaborate, but we listened to something right before we went on the air, and I had to bring it up. All right, so yeah, Aaron Judge not so good since he became a cartoon character with his dogs.
Well, it's hard to bat when you're two-dimensional. I mean,
that's a good
you're
point.
hitting a 3D ball, but you're a two-dimensional player. I mean,
that's a good point.
And then you got the dogs running around, and
Well, they're worried about building a ballpark so they can play it all.
Right, exactly. I mean, where's their priorities?
Yeah. It ain't winning. It ain't hitting the ball.
It ain't hitting the ball.
They might be running after the ball and then bringing it back to you so you throw it again.
Yeah, that's why they love this game, because it's a big game of fetch.
Yeah. So let's move right along and go from Aaron Judge to someone who is starting to get at a level notoriety-wise very quickly that Aaron Judge is at, and that's Paul Skeen, the rookie hurler from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who Brian sees a lot being in the Cubs division.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, we've watched this, and it is not difficult to find if you're listening or watching and you want to see it. We're not going to put it up on the screen. We're just not interested in doing that much editing. But he had an interesting incident with Doug Eddings. He didn't like the call. He kind of smiled at him. He walked off the mound like it was a strike. And here's the thing. That happens every day in the major leagues.
Yeah.
Every day a pitcher thinks he threw strike 3. He struts off the mound, and then it gets called a ball, and he has to tuck his tail and get back on the mound.
Right.
Paul Skeen just laughed about it. He smiled. He's like, okay, yeah, all right. And umpire Doug Eddings proceeds to start yelling at Skeen' manager, Derek Shelton. You need to talk to him. You need to talk to him. About what?
Yeah.
About how terrible your call was? And that's what Derek Shelton said was, no, I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
I don't need to talk to him. He's just doing his job. He didn't say a word to you. He just smiled.
Yeah, I mean, we can't even smile now?
Yeah, what in the hell? And, Brian, for me, the reason I wanted to talk about this and the reason I brought it up today is I want to talk about a bigger issue. And outside of the fact that the human umpires behind home plate are just flat out not getting it right now, like the calls, they're not getting the calls right.
Right.
And we want the calls right so everybody has a fair shake to win and the umpires don't decide games. I'm sick of this shit. Why is it about it? These umpires have forgotten that when they're at their best, we have no idea they're there.
Well, because, and here's, you're not going to like it, but I'm going to say it anyway. You go have one private conversation with them in a locker room, in a shower, and I guarantee it'll change all their attitudes. You just got to have the right thing said and the right thing done, and they'll realize.
Well, but I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. We just don't live in that world anymore.
But we should.
Maybe we should. I don't know. Here's the deal. You take calling balls and strikes away from them, first off, half of them are going to get in line behind Angel Hernandez at the unemployment office.
They're going to quit, yeah.
Which is a good fucking thing because I'm sick of all of them. Mm-hmm. The older ones are the worst of all. I mean, the longer you've done it, the worse you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just how it goes for whatever reason. But it's going to emasculate them to the point where this is done. And we don't have to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of watching clips of games and watching games that become the ump show.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. This league is not about you, Doug Eddings. you are lucky to get to do this for a living, first off. And you're really taking it for granted and pissing on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking it for granted. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that statement.
And I don't understand why the sentiment from the umpires has to be it's us against you, because that's how they act.
Mm-hmm.
They act like it's the teams against them.
Mm-hmm.
The teams are playing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to call the game in a way that doesn't affect the outcome. And you are really dropping the ball on that job.
Yeah, they are. But they always have.
I don't know if it's ever been this bad.
Well, we saw, okay, you can't even really argue with them good anymore because they're just so sensitive. I mean, that's the thing. They know what they're doing. That's why they're so sensitive on it. He knew he made that bad call, and that's why he didn't want him laughing at him. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just wasn't. We're almost speechless at it.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Skeens was laughing at Doug Eddings.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
I think he was just laughing it off and moving on to the next pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a young rookie who started an All-Star game when he'd started 11 games in the big leagues, is probably going to win Rookie of the Year, got an outside shot at Cy Young. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for Chris Sale suddenly being the best pitcher in the world, not really out of nowhere, but I mean, he's not been at this level for Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just a guy laughing it off and saying, all right, let's just go to the next one. Let's get him again.
Yeah.
Let's throw strike 4.
Yep.
And that's the thing, too, is the players are used to this now. Like, they're used to these terrible calls and this terrible behavior because it's been going on so much for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they put a thing on a meter now that says how hitter-friendly or pitcher-friendly or they are. I mean, that shouldn't even be on there.
Well, some people would argue that's the human element that they want in the game. But I don't think in today's Major League Baseball that there's a lot of that consistently. Now, there are guys that, he's got a tight zone. Okay. As long as the zone is the same amount of tight for both teams, I got no problem with it. But when this is a strike to one team and then this is a ball to the other team, mm-hmm. or this is a strike to one hitter, mm-hmm. and then this is a ball to the other hitter, I'm just done with it, man.
Yeah, it becomes a strike feeling instead of a strike zone.
And here's the other thing. The difference between now and what you're talking about, it's always been this way. We didn't always have the technology to fucking put them in their place.
Well, that's true.
Now we do. Mm-hmm. And it's good technology. You can bitch about it all you want. If you don't like technology, that's fine, Grandpa. But, fuck. We got a way to get it right 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Why are we not doing it?
There's a foolproof way to get it right all the time. And we're saying, no, we'd rather this guy get it wrong 10% of the time every game.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why? Tell me why. Make it make sense. That's all I'm asking. If you're not going to, and I think it's coming. I think the challenge system is coming really soon. Mm-hmm. But if we're not going to do it, just make it make sense to me, Rob Manfred, somebody, whoever. Make it make sense, The game is in a good place. We are attracting new fans every day in a way that we have not in a long time. You don't believe me? Just look it up. Look the numbers up. The game, the American game of baseball is traveling all over the world to play games.
Yeah.
Dodgers and Cubs in Japan to start the season next year.
Yeah.
And what a time, because the influx of Japanese talent right now is the best it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And that's a pipeline that's about to continue. Roki Sasaki's coming soon. That Murakami kid that does nothing but hit dingers is coming in the next few years. I mean, there are good ball players still to come from this World Baseball Classic team mm-hmm. that was really impressive for Japan.
Yeah.
And we say all this to say, why let these guys make it about them and try to steal the show when all they need to do is show up, call the game, shut up, and go to the next game?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
You want me to tell you why?
Just lay it on me.
Because they're jock sniffers. They're not athletes. They're the ones that hung around and wanted to be the best friend of the star player. Didn't have anything to do athletically, so they got into umpiring and equipment management instead of out there playing. It's the same old. It don't change. The dynamic's always the same, kid.
Oh man, that's a word I've heard you use a lot, but never in the context of baseball.
I know it's getting bad, kid. It's getting bad.
It's getting bad. I just want it to end. I want it to be over. I don't want to have to talk about this anymore. I just want us to be able to watch baseball and enjoy it and not have to deal with seeing these clips.
Yeah. We need the giant baseball umpires.
No,
the robots.
We're not going back to that. Yeah, folks, if you want to hear Brian's thoughts on robot umpires, you've got to go to patreon.com/2GTB and check out the original episodes from 2022 when we discussed that very thing.
Promo code Go Cubs Go.
Promo code Go Cubs Go. Get you a little deal right now so you can go find that and listen to Brian go way out into left field about robot umps.
Yeah, we love them. We want them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, since Brian's going to act like this is a wrestling show all day, it's time for our main event.
All right.
And the reason Brian is dolled up in his best Durham Bulls, I love that jersey with the three color.
Yep.
What do you call that?
Arm.
I don't know. It's the collar too, but
trimming.
I can't believe we've gotten 45 minutes into this, and I'm just now saying, folks, you got to bear with me today. I've had very little sleep. I mean, had I not fallen asleep on the couch right after Brian got up today, I would not have had any sleep at all.
Yeah, he was a trooper. He got him a little napski, and he's trudged right along.
Hey, man, listen, I got a nap. I got a little Burger King in me. I'm ready. I mean, we've been rolling today.
So we're dealing with a bunch of shit here.
We are dealing with a lot of shit here. That's true. So we watched Bull Durham, and again, I have to start by saying it's my favorite movie of all time. I love this movie. Everything about it. I don't think there's a bad scene in the whole thing. It's so romantic and folksy, and I love the imagery of that time. I love watching them walk in places in Durham that I've walked myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I've gone to games there, I've called the current ballpark in Durham, the Durham Bulls Athletic Park, the happiest place on earth because it's like baseball Disneyland. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And Durham in that area, that whole triad area is people are so happy there. I'll never forget the first time. I have two brothers that live in that area, and the first time one of them moved down, and then the other one later moved down with him. But when we first went to see my brother Darren, who moved down there first, we're at the donut place first thing in the morning getting breakfast, and the girl running the register at the donut shop is like grinning ear to ear. Yeah. There's nowhere in the world else she'd rather be.
Yeah,
and it's just a great place to see a game. And the movie has created a lot of that culture, and they've nurtured that culture there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually know the GM of the Durham Bulls now. I can name drop a little bit. Tyler Parsons, who at one point was the GM of the Johnson City Cardinals.
Yeah.
A man that I was put in touch with by Zach Clark, who worked under him for a long time in multiple places. And at the time that I was doing a little blog during COVID and doing some interviews of people, I interviewed Zach because he was the GM of the Johnson City Cardinals at that point. And I interviewed a lot of people in the Appalachian League because that was during the time when the future of the Appalachian League was kind of up in the air. We didn't know what was going on. I wanted to know what teams, representatives could tell me. And it was very interesting. But he put me in touch with Tyler, who was in Lansing for the Lugnuts at the time, and now he's the GM of the Durham Bulls, which he's earned. He's done wonderful things everywhere he's ever been,
mm-hmm.
and takes a real personal approach to running a minor league team, and they've always done a great job out there. And the movie kind of put them at a different level of notoriety. You know, so just my favorite flick of all time.
It's a great movie, man. It's shot very well. The dialogue is very intelligent for what you're actually watching. You know, it's a very good put together film, and then it's a feel good film.
Right.
You know, about one of our famous topics. So you're like three good things stacked on top of each other of gooey goodness when you get into this thing, and it really does get you film wise from the opening, you know, scene all the way to the end. Like they take you on this epic journey.
Yeah.
And it's emotional and it's exciting, and it can depend on how you're feeling. You may not want to be emotional that day, so you're not really into like the romantic issues in the film, but you're into the sports issues, so you're just going to pay attention to those. It is still deliver on that level.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. You may, you know, be feeling emotional and want to get into that. It will deliver on that level as well. So it's very good put together film.
It is, and it's funny when it needed to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a serious tone when it needs to take a little bit of a serious tone, which isn't often, but still, there's some moments. It's a really well-written film, a really well-acted film, and, you know, you got to give kudos to the cast, obviously, and the crew, and everybody that had a part in making it. But I mean, the fact that they basically, depending on, you know, what you read on the internet and believe, a big part of why Kevin Costner got the role as Crash Davis was he had a very beautiful right-handed swing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really until I don't think it was really until they got into pre-production and filming that they realized that Costner could switch hit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and you know, it's one of the trilogy of Costner baseball movies, all great. But in Field of Dreams, when he's trying to hit the ball out to Ray Liotta's character, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and he pops it straight up, that was Costner's idea.
Yeah.
And they were like, "You can do that?" He's like, "Yeah, on command. I can toss the ball up to myself and hit it in a way that it goes straight up whenever I want to." Hollywood actors can't just do that.
Oh, no.
Stuntmen can't just do that.
Yeah.
Like, baseball is very important to Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
And that's why these movies come off so well. It's because he puts so much into making them good and making them believable and real, you know. And
he really commits to the position.
Well, and beyond that, he represents the game within the movie really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he respects the game and wants the game to be the star.
Yeah.
And in Bull Durham, the game is the star.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is these characters are growing, but you know they're basically characters that you don't know at all, and then they become iconic at the end, and that's the story that they're telling. You know, it's not like a Moneyball where everybody is who they are.
Right.
You know, like they're already somebody. You know, these are just some schmoes that are playing some ball, and you know, one's got hope, one don't have hope, and you know, by the end, you're just like, wow, I could really be either one of these guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's that great scene in the bar where Crash is drunk, and he's like, you know, throughout a whole season, 25 hits is the difference between 250 and 300, and that's one hit a week. One dying quail, one extra dying quail a week, and you're in the Hall of Fame. And that's the beauty of baseball. And that's what I love about Bull Durham so much is anybody can watch it. You don't have to love baseball the way you and I, Brian, love baseball to enjoy the movie, because there's something for everybody. It's funny. There's a romance story that's not like, oh my God, this is so sweet, I'm getting cavities. You know, it's a real life, you know, organic kind of romance story. But you know, it just paints baseball in such the best light, because the beauty of baseball is that it is the most humbling game and the most beautiful game. But if you blink, you're out. Like you said earlier, talking about Tim Anderson. One day, you're on the top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And within a couple years, you can be out of a job, sitting at home. You know, it's that kind of game. You know, and it man, it's just a beautiful fucking game, man.
Yeah, it is.
They portray that so well. And something else that I was thinking a lot watching it, because it's obviously, I mean, the movie came out in 1988, and
it's not dated at all.
Well, but it kind of is what I was saying.
Okay.
Like it holds up. I'm not saying it doesn't hold up, but when you look at like Annie's house, people don't decorate their house that way anymore. And a lot of that is like, what you have in your house now is different than what people had in their houses back then.
Right.
You know? People now, I mean, some people do, but like back then, everybody had a record player somewhere,
right?
And that takes up space. Like that's a big portion of a room. You know, not everybody has that anymore because we listen to music on these things now.
Right.
You know, and we have the little teeny tiny speakers with no cords that can sit anywhere and play it really loud for us in any room. We can pick it up and move it to the other room. You couldn't pick up your record player and move it to the other room. You know, you had to be very strategic about where you put your record player.
Right.
But it just, it's such a romantic movie, man. It just, you know, and Brian and I are old enough to remember a little bit closer to like that, things being that way.
Yeah.
You know, we've lived during that time. And it just, it makes me miss it a little bit because I don't know, even at that level of baseball, even at that low level of baseball, I don't know how folksy it is anymore.
Well, you know what I liked, and I noticed it immediately, is I liked how everybody walked to the game. Like it was the thing that the town did.
Right.
And that they just walked and got there, and that was just what they did at, you know, let's say 3 o'clock on every day.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No, it was you know, and it's the Bulls are such a part of Durham. Even back then, before they blew up and became a AAA and built a ballpark that's better than some major league parks I've been to.
Right.
And I mean, it's just a great relationship between the city and the team, and you know, and Durham's grown since then. Don't get me wrong; that's a lot of it too. You know, the city of Durham deserves a lot of credit for building that team up because they built their city up. And,
right.
And, you know, with Raleigh right there, it's been easy because Raleigh's one of the more progressive cities, you know, the last, good grief, 50 years probably. You know, it's always been a progressive young professional type of city.
Right.
Right. And just smack dab in the middle of North Carolina, you know. It's kind of wild, but, you know, but yeah, man, and so many classic scenes. We've already referenced a couple, you know, but you know, I love that when the manager doesn't know how to get through to the guys, he goes to Crash.
Yeah,
and Crash just shaving, and he's like, you know, I've been a nice guy. Scare them.
Yeah,
they're kids. You need to scare them. You know, and then he throws the bats in the shower and does the great lollygag.
Yeah.
You know, you lollygag your way in and out of the. You lollygag your way. What does that make you, Larry?
Lollygaggers.
Lollygaggers. Just classic comedy. Like, if you love baseball or not, that's funny.
Yeah.
You know, the meeting on the mound.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, Millie and Jimmy are getting married and nobody knows what to get them, and Jose's glove is cursed, so we need a live rooster, and you know, Nuke's having trouble with his left eyelid. We're dealing with a lot of shit here.
It's the right eyelid.
Yeah, right. It's funny even if you aren't into the baseball aspect of it. And I love that about it is they knew in order for this to be a success, we have to reach people who aren't already in love with baseball.
Right.
You know, and maybe they didn't fall in love with baseball. They just liked the movie, and that's okay too, because that means they bought a ticket and, you know, saw it, or bought it on home video or whatever, you know, or bought it on, you know, Apple TV or Amazon in 2024. You know what I mean? Like, it's resonated so much that
well, I don't know a lot of people that haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, it's a classic.
I mean, it's one of those movies that everybody knows. You know, when you say we're dealing with a lot of shit here, they all know.
Oh, the lollygaggers, and you know, there's a lot of lines that people know.
Yeah, and it's just become their common vernacular. You know, even for the casual watcher. You know.
Yeah.
So.
I'll be walking through the house sometimes, and I'll just go, William Blake, William Blake, William Blake, William Blake, for no reason, just because it's funny. I don't even really know who William Blake is. Like, I'm not that familiar with William Blake's
Well, he spoke very highly of you.
I'm not speaking ill of him. I just don't know much about him. I just know him from the movie, and I'm probably sounding like a real idiot. There's probably people going like, you don't know who William Blake is, you idiot? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it's quotable, it's funny, it's good, you know, and it tells a great story, man, because the story of Crash Davis is relatable to anybody.
Yeah.
Because everybody, at some point, if they do a job long enough, has that moment of, I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a direct quote from the movie.
Yeah.
I'm too old for this shit. What am I doing back in A-ball?
Yeah.
You know, oh, well, we got this great young arm, and they think if you help him, he can go all the way. Well, where do I go?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sick of this. You know? And it's so funny that, like, one of the major plot points in the movie is that Annie wants to alert the sporting news about the minor league home run record.
And he don't want him to know.
And he doesn't want him to know. Well, nowadays, he wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
The way information is viewed and shared and just known, they'd be on top of it. A year before they'd be asking him about it, you know? So it's, again, it gets you a little romantic about kind of the way we grew up, you know, and the way we remember things from, like, when we were much younger, you and I, Brian, and there's some, you know, I like the way things are now. I'm not saying let's go back, because we don't need to go back ever in any situation. The goal should always be to move forward. But, you know, I love that. I love that old, not a phone in your pocket all the time, no internet. If you wanted to talk to somebody on the phone, you had to catch them at home, or they had to catch you at home. You know, there was just a different vibe. Things seemed to move a little slower back then.
Yeah, no, see, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. No. I got to hunt you down to find out what you're doing. I mean, you know, no. I got to know. What are you doing? Okay. Now we know.
All right. Now we got to be honest. Who exists outside of your wife, who you live with, and me, that you even really, and maybe Eric Lester, the third member of Three Crows, that you even care what they're doing?
Raj.
Oh, yeah. Raj.
I care deeply about Raj.
But you see him every day.
I do see him every day. Yeah. Every day I see him more than my wife. That's hysterical. My convenience store guy is, I spend more time with him than I do Ashley.
So, see, you've kind of already got that one.
Yeah, I do.
You don't need the internet. You don't need a cell phone. You don't talk to him.
That's right. That's right. But if you wanted to talk to us, you could send us a message.
That's true. Now that we are on podcast streaming platforms other than YouTube video, we have a new feature where at the very top of the description on each episode, there is an option to text us, and that's just, just send us a message. Say, hey.
Hey, you're full of shit. We love what you're doing. We hate what you're doing. Whatever. Just send us something to let us know you're there, man.
Yeah.
Let us know you're there. We got Canton, Ohio this week. I'm very excited for Canton, Ohio. So if you're listening in Canton, man, send us a message. We love you up there in Canton.
And our numbers are continue to go up in Germany.
Oh, we are huge in Germany.
Yeah.
We are huge, like Hasselhoff.
We've tripled our weekly numbers in Germany.
Yes, we have. And I'm feeling so happy about that market.
Here's the thing. If you are listening to us from Germany, I want to hear from you, and here's why. I want to know, not even really like who you are or what your deal is. I just want to know what you're doing in Germany listening to our little podcast.
It's amazing.
It's cool.
It's very cool, and it's thrilled the hell out of us. We talk about this daily.
Brian brings it up daily. That's why we talk about it daily. But it is very cool, and we're happy you're listening, obviously, no matter where you are, from Canton, Ohio to Germany and all points in between.
To Austin, Texas.
Yeah, to what was the one I didn't even know where it was?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember. Yeah, crazy stuff. But
Maryland.
That's what we get with the internet, is the ability to talk into these microphones once a week and put it out there, and people all over the world that we've never met are listening to.
Well, imagine that. I talk to 4 people on a daily basis, and that's it. And I keep it at that. Like, I go painstakingly out of my way to keep it at that. Yet, we are heard in other nations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's beyond amazing. It's very cool for us. And yeah, we just want to hear from you. No matter who you are or where you're from, we just want to hear from you. And just drop us your a Bull Durham quote. Just no context. Just drop the Bull Durham quote. We'll love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll probably talk about you on the podcast because we'll be so excited you messaged us.
Oh, we're definitely talking about it on the podcast, without a doubt. But yeah, just go to 2gtv.com, pick any episode, and there's a message button right there at the top of every episode.
Yeah, and it's also available on your apps and platforms that you use outside of going to the website to hear the episodes. It's really anywhere. Yeah, it's just right in the description. You just go into the description and click on it, and it gives you the ability to message us. So, and if you'd rather go the social media route, Twitter is a good starting point. The show is at 2GTV Pod. I'm at Dallas Danger. Brian is at 3 Crows Bry. Also on the website, there's a link to our store, but if you want to go directly there, 2gtv.store. A little something for everybody, something for your pets, something for your friends, practical gifts, practical things for yourself, notebooks, phone cases, all kind of fun stuff. And it's free to look, so please go give that a look-see. And again, patreon.com/2GTB, promo code right now, Go Cubs Go for the next week. Save you some money, and you can see what we're doing over there on Patreon, and some bonus content for you, and we're always adding. So, those are the 2 best ways to support us financially, is through the store and through Patreon. And then another favor that we're going to continue to ask is, please, if you could help us get our YouTube subscriber count up, we would love to get that number up a little bit and be more capable of doing things we're wanting to do with our YouTube channel. So, so please get in touch with us if you're liking the show, if you're not liking the show, whatever, man. Just drop us a line and talk to us, because obviously we love talking about baseball, because we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't. And that was the precipice of this whole show, was we were doing this on the phone every day, and we said, why don't we just record it?
Yeah, and here we are recording it.
And here we are, 2 years later.
2 years later, still recording it.
Yeah. Watching
movies. This sounds like I'm about to go into song. Watching you, watching me. Okay, all right. I think that might be it for this week.
Yeah. You don't have another musical number in you there, Brian?
No, I'm not sure. I should have had the first one.
All right, well, we'll call it a week, and we will talk to you in 7 days. In the meantime, hit up everything we just talked about, the store, the socials, text us, all that good stuff. And, until next time.
We'll see you at the ballpark.